So this is that same song, Reuben's song, okay, by Gwennifer Raymond. This is a section, this is the last 16 measures. This is the last 16 measures of the chorus. And it's what I call a blues section because it uses quite a bit of dissonance, dominant tension. And so I'm just going to play it for you. What I want to do is I'm going to play it for you as an exposition in how do I study a piece like this where there's a lot of different things happening. It's very easy for it to be overwhelming or to feel like there's too much to comprehend or to synthesize very briefly and or very quickly, I should say. And what we do is I work on a small section. In this case, the first two, it's broken up into 4 measure sections. So, okay, so there's 16 measures. Each section is 4 measures, and there's basically 2 measures of melodic function, and then 2 measures of a kind of a response to the melody that's principally rhythmic. And you'll hear that in a moment. So really, we're only learning 2 measure sections of kind of a little bit complex melodic fingerpicking, followed by 2 measures of relatively a little simpler, although technical, rhythm strumming. What we want to do is we want to work on these sections in small bits. So we want to work on the first 2 measures, and then the second 2 measures, and then we want to put those 4 together and still play them carefully and slowly. So here's how I would begin. If I'm learning this, I would start off and play the first 2 measures. This starts at 139. This is the first 2 measures of the blues section, what I'm calling the blues section, which is the last 16 measures of the chorus. So it's... Okay, that's the basic phrase. So what you want to do to master that, to get comfortable with it, is go through it very slowly. We do want it to flow, but we're not at all concerned with speed. So you'll notice I'm playing quite slowly, but I'm trying to play in a forward moving manner. I'm not tiptoeing through it. I'm not stepping through it particularly carefully. I'm just going slow enough that I can keep the flow moving. Now what you'll notice here is there are rhythmic units that belong together, phrases, very short phrases or phrase fragments. We want to pay attention to them because then if we're getting overwhelmed by playing too many notes, we can just work on one phrase fragment at a time. The first one, the second one. And when we do that, what we can do is we can pay attention to our hand movement, both hands, and you're always asking yourself, am I playing this as efficiently as possible? Am I reducing all unnecessary movement, especially from the left hand? And am I keeping the right hand quite low to the strings? We're always working on that as we're learning. If we work on that from the very beginning of learning a piece, then what happens is we have installed that habit in our hands by the time we actually start to try to play this piece. So we're always improving the efficiency of both hands in order to make this easy enough to play, because if we keep our hands efficient, everything is less work. When we speed it up, it's not so challenging. So here's what it sounds like when I play these. I'm going to play these, I think there's basically 2 phrases in the first measure and 3 phrases in the second measure. The first phrase is this, which is a triplet timing. Second phrase, my hand basically does not move, the left hand. That's the second triplet. Now I'm going to play a triplet. It's not, I don't know if it's exactly a triplet. It sort of is. It sort of is a slower triplet. And then the last part is... So that's a triplet too. And that's not. So if I put all those little bits and pieces together, here's the whole thing of those first 2 measures. And of course, there's a tension to that last note, a rhythmic tension, because I'm calling on. So what you'll find is many of these, the first two, in fact, all but one of them, of these phrases has a hanging beat on the for and that is leading you or is suggesting the sound of a corresponding or answering rhythmic phrase. So now I'm going to play those first two measures with their answer. Okay? Still very, very slowly and carefully. Now I've got a whole 4 measures, a quarter of the whole ending section here, all worked out, and it's just a matter of practicing this at a slow, comfortable pace, but trying to tune into those rhythmic phrases and emphasize them slightly so that they become part of the language of how I play this. I have to, when you're playing a piece that has this level of intricacy, it's not super, super intricate, but there's enough intricacy here in terms of learning, because we're playing 4 different 4-measure sections, each of which is different. So when you're doing that, what you want to do is you want to internalize the phrasing. You want to focus on the phrasing. For one thing, our brain and our hands like to fasten onto rhythm. It's much easier for us to remember a rhythm than it is to remember a melody. So in order to take advantage of that memory tendency or strength, we want to focus on the phrasing. And the other thing is, of course, what we're doing is we're teaching our hands not only what to play, but we're teaching our hands how to play it, how to place the rhythmic emphasis. The phrasing, as we speed up, that phrasing will stay intact if we establish a foundation of a solid knowledge of the phrasing at the very beginning. Okay, so that's my process. That's how I work through a piece like this. Again, this is Reuben's song by Gwennifer Raymond. It's on YouTube. You can go and have a listen to it. It's a fantastic song. If you and this is my own transcription of this. If you'd like to study the song, send me a message or an email, and I'll shoot you a copy of the transcription. I have lots of other original transcriptions as well. I've done half a dozen songs by William Tyler. A couple of other guys. Come and practice a study with me. If you want to come and study with me, I do Zoom lessons, I do in-person lessons, we observe protocols and all that kind of stuff. That's it for tonight. If you want to come and study or find out more, just send me an email. The email address is in the comments or in the description of the video. Thanks a lot for watching. I'm Bonar.